going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel and welcome to another awesome video. Today is going to be one of the most requested videos I get. We're going to be going around the greenhouse and checking out all the plants. We're going to do an in-depth plant tour. We're probably going to see some really cool animals along the way, like the fish here and like our buddy, the little orange terribilis right here. Look at him sitting here watching the fish. Such a weird little frog. But anyways, yeah, in-depth plant tours. So we're going to go over pretty much every species of plant in the greenhouse, tell you the names of them, show you them, talk about them a little bit maybe. Who knows? But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video so we can keep getting out to a wider audience. And let's get into it. There's going to be a lot of plants to talk about today, so let's jump right into it at the pond area. So we'll start with the front wall of the pond. Right here we got, I don't remember the name of this, but we got a bromeliad right here. We got some Spanish moss, nothing fancy. This down here is a Dahlia heterophylla that's not doing very good, a little epiphytic fern. Not doing great. And then I'm telling you guys, I am horrible with orchid names. I am just no good with them. I can only remember out of the like two right here, I can only remember one of them. But this is Pleurothallus tribuloides, a miniature orchid. It's a super cool little mini orchid. One thing with the orchids is I think most of them aren't doing that great because I keep it too wet in here and I have super hard water. So we're planning on upgrading to an RO system this summer and a fogging system and all this. It's a whole complicated thing. But once we upgrade to that, I think the orchids and mosses, stuff like that, and then carnivorous plants like the nepenthes are going to do much better. So for now, we're just kind of trying to keep the orchids alive and hoping that they'll do better once we upgrade. So we got another one right here. I don't remember the name of. Pretty sure this is like a dendrobium. I don't know. I'm really bad with orchids. But anyways, right here, we got Ristolochia fimbriata. This is a really cool little vine that grows these super cool flowers. So I'll definitely give you guys an update on that once it flowers. Right here, we have a resurrection fern. I'm not sure of the Latin name of it, but it's a super cool little fern that is actually pretty drought tolerant. It can dry out a little bit and then come back to life after. That's why it's called the resurrection fern. But in here, it probably ain't drying out anytime soon. Hey, right here, philodendron small round. This thing's just starting to kind of trail up here. Look pretty good. Down here we have Solanum. I think it's Solanum Ecuador, but I'm not 100% sure. It was just sent to me as a no-name Solanum. Super neat. And then continuing on over this way, I got one of my favorite little ferns, Microgramma reptans. This one's covered in all this nasty bubble algae right here I need to clean off, but whatever. And then down here, Begonia amphioxus. This is a super pretty little begonia that does super good here. It loves the super wet areas, and yeah, it grows like a weed, honestly. Right here we have frog. Right here is a biophytum. I'm not 100% sure on the species of this one, but we got a bunch of these little guys all over. And then we got quite a few Markgravias in here too. This one is Markgravia surinam. It literally naturally started, I planted it in the moss right here, and it naturally started growing up this stick, which is super cool. And this one's growing up the rock. So once those grow a little bit more, they'll be awesome. Another biophytum. Right here we have Solanum julianum. This is one of my favorite solanums. It's this dark one, and if you look, it's really purple on the bottoms of the leaves. Super pretty. Another miniature orchid right here that I actually forgot was here until just now. And then over here, one of everybody's favorites. This is Nepenthes spathulata crossed with Hamada. So it's two Nepenthes species crossed. And this picture's kind of all caught up, so it's hard to see the biggest, prettiest one. But you know, it's cool. We'll get some nice shots of it. And then, of course, another orchid that I do not know the name of. I'm telling you guys, I know the name of everything except for the orchids. I'm the worst of them. And Nerogilia caviar bromeliad. This is one of my favorite little bromeliads. Inside the pond, we have our Victoria water lily. I'm super excited to update you guys on this. This thing is growing like crazy. It has put out like 5 new leaves so far. I just keep cutting off the old ugly ones, but this is the giant Amazon water lily, and this one is still tiny. They can get way bigger than this. The pads can get like 6 to 8 feet. It very well may outgrow the pond one day, but we're gonna try to bonsai it and kind of keep it smaller if possible. It's gonna be a little bit of an experiment, but these are super cool. If you look under here, you can see all these crazy ridges and spikes. This thing is insane. So they have all these little spikes to keep them from getting eaten by fish down in the Amazon. And then they also have all those little ridges to hold air pockets and keep them super, super buoyant. And these things can hold up to like 80 to 100 pounds, a big mature one. So I've seen pictures where people have little kids sitting on them, or I've even seen pictures where people put a flat board on it to distribute weight, and they put a full grown human on it. So crazy that a lily pad could actually hold up a human. But this thing's super cool. We will keep you guys updated. It's growing like crazy. It currently has 2 more leaves coming out. But yeah, awesome. But speaking of the pond, we still have big plans to plant the rest of the pond. I want to add a bunch of cool aquatic plants, but we're still going to do the bog planters. So basically big rectangular planters that are anywhere from 1 to 6 inches under the depth of the water, all the way around the outside edges, with a lot of really cool aquatic plants growing up. And then as you can see, I have my little staghorn up there. That's a Platycerium ridleyi. We'll get more into that in a minute, but we plan on mounting a bunch of other plants inside of here. So eventually we can kind of simulate a shoreline and have a bunch of really cool plants. Then we'll cover the driftwood and cool aquatic plants, but we just haven't got to it yet, but that is coming up this summer as well. All right, so you guys all saw the video of the mini stream and pond getting built. Can't forget about that. If you didn't see it, then you're missing out. So go check it out. I'll link it right here. But we finally added some plants to it. Some super cool plants too that I got from my buddy Mick Mitty down in Florida. If you guys are into tropical plants, like rare stuff and aquatic aroids especially, hit him up. He has some of the coolest rare aquatic aroids I've ever seen. So awesome guy, awesome plants. Anyways, let's start. So right here, this is Anubias gigantea. He gave me 2 cuttings of this. So this is a super cool aquatic aroid. It's growing here in the little shallow bog area. Over here is one of my favorite bromeliads. This is Neoregelia cat's pajamas. Let's move on. And then as we come along the pond and stream, we have a couple other Anubias. This is another cutting of gigantea right there. But this one over here is super cool. This is Anubias afzelii. I also am still, once again, I give this disclaimer every time I talk about plants, I'm horrible at pronouncing them. So I may be pronouncing these wrong. Don't trust my pronunciation, but anyways, so we got our cool Anubias down here. Those things are gonna grow a lot in here, and they're also gonna help eat up a bunch of the nutrients, all the nitrogen, nitrates, phosphates, stuff like that, so we don't have so many problems with algae. The stream is really going through the ugly phase of string algae right now, so these will definitely help with that. Right here, we have a Pitcairnia, also probably pronounced that wrong, but this thing was given to us by our buddy Parker. Super cool little plant. Right here in the waterfall, we have one of my very favorites. This is Spathiphyllum quinduense. Look at that super cool double inflow on it. But this thing grows in little waterfalls and stuff in the wild. So it'll grow up in the rocks and take over this waterfall. Should look super awesome. Up here, we have Lagonandra meboldii. This thing is a very cool aquatic plant. I may eventually take a cutting of this and put it submersed in the big pond. And then right here, it's barely starting to grow, but this is a Begonia procritifolia. Super cool little begonia that grows up in waterfalls and stuff as well. So if you guys remember our big, beautiful Pharaohs Mask, you can probably see it's not so big and beautiful anymore. It looks like crap. And I'm honestly probably gonna get rid of it and replace it with some cool tropical tree right here with some other smaller plants around. But the thing with this, I figured out, it loves nitrogen. So it needs to be fertilized a ton, and I don't fertilize much in here. And even when I do fertilize, it's with super low NPK fertilizers, so it doesn't hurt the frogs or anything. So I just haven't been fertilizing it anymore. I'm not gonna sit here and baby this plant. So it's just, it takes over, soaks up all the nitrogen. And yeah, I just don't feel like dealing with it. So it is not looking very good right now, but that's okay, I guess. I just wanna say that it's really hard in videos to give you guys perspective of how big some of these plants are. So this shot will probably do a good job of that. Right here is our giant Monstera deliciosa. These things actually grow fruit in the wild when they're not kept as houseplants. And it's supposed to be super delicious, so I'm super excited to get fruit off it, hopefully in the next year or two, and be able to try it. Right here below me is our Alocasia poly. This thing has grown into kind of a bush, which is pretty unique. I've never seen one grown into a bush like this. And then right in front of me is this giant Alocasia zebrina. I love this thing. These huge, like triangle leaves, the stripy little petioles or stems. This thing is super awesome, and it's just gonna continue to get bigger. It'll grow into kind of like a stalk eventually with big leaves hanging off it. Gonna be super rad. And right down here is our Impatiens auricoma. I got 2 of these from our friend Parker, and they're pretty new. It's just getting established. You can see it dropped some leaves. It got really hot the other day, but it's got all these little new growth points starting. So that thing is gonna be sweet when it gets a little bit bigger. Super pretty flowers. And over here we have our Varicosum, just trying to survive through the Monstera. Whoops, I just ripped a Monstera leaf. But this is a dwarf dark form Varicosum that I had in a vivarium. So I'm curious to see if it'll get any bigger than this, or if it really is a dwarf. Right here is a Monolina. I'm not sure of the species. You guys just missed. I had some super pretty flowers just recently, but these things are super cool. This was sent to me by Glassbox Tropicals, so shout out to you. Down here is one of my favorite antheriums. This is an Antherium rugulosum. So these leaves are like hard. Like this literally feels like a stiff piece of cardboard. Super little corrugated leaves. I love this thing. So here's another monolina growing here. Back there, you probably can't see it good, but I have another Nepenthes. It does not currently have any healthy pictures. It's kind of a rehab, so that one is what it is for now, but it's a super cool Nepenthes. It is, what is it, LBV crossed with Candy Dreams, or Veitchii Candy Dreams, so it's gonna be gorgeous if I can get it to do good. But yeah, anyways, we got that, and then right here, Begonia falciloba. This thing is super awesome. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Right here, Syngonium rayi. I put a few of these around the kind of stream and pond just to break up the edges. And then up here, you can see all these roots attaching to the tree. Those are not the tree's roots. Those are this plant right here, which is Philodendron Paraiso. This thing, I didn't even put it. I just put it in front of the tree, and it is just automatically climbing the tree on its own. So super awesome. It'll just continue to climb up and hang big old, beautiful leaves out of our tree right here. All right, guys, forgive me if my mustache is scraggly and I'm pouring sweat too. It is super here. You want to get a close up on the stash? It is super humid in here and warm this morning. I'm dying. Anyways, right here we have Antherium Michelle. Grows these super pretty dark leaves. Here's a new emergent leaf. It's very red. And then right here, Philodendron Yoepii. This thing is awesome. One of my favorites. Here's another leaf of the Paraiso wrapping around. And then check out all these crazy roots coming out of the tree. This thing is wild. Speaking of the tree, here's its inhabitant, the male Spilotes sulphureus. This guy literally does not leave this tree, like ever. He spends his whole life in the tree. The female cruises around all over the place, but the tree is his home, and it's a perfect home for him. But this is our Ficus, oh my gosh, bengalensis. Ficus bengalensis, or Ficus audrey is the cultivar, and this thing is an absolute weed. I trim it like every other week, like a whole wheelbarrow of sticks, basically. It's massive, it's getting gnarly, but it's gonna keep growing all these cool aerial roots, and eventually it'll have big horizontal branches with big aerial roots hanging down, and then all my other cool plants can climb up the aerial roots, so it's gonna look super awesome. Right here is Antherium campii, one of the bird's nest antheriums. I absolutely love this thing. I don't know why, it's like there's nothing crazy cool about it, but it's just a super unique plant, makes it look very jungly in here. Love it. Right here is Antherium regal. This thing's getting massive. I feel like I'm like hiding in a little fort made of plants right now. But also check out the inflow on this thing. It is like, it's huge, first of all, and it is like purple, like dark black, but you look close, it's actually like super purple. Super cool. Right here is Antherium rubioanum mounted to this stick. You can see this giant ball of roots here, but I love this thing. The little textured leaves are super cool. And of course it has inflows too, like every Antherium in here. And in front of it is one of my absolute favorites. This is Philodendron Columbia. This thing is super cool. Probably one of my top 3 or 4 favorite plants in here, but these leaves are getting huge and they're just awesome. I don't know what else to say about it. Here next to our little fallen log, we got a Margravia centenicii. It's just a little cutting, just barely starting to take off right there. And then right here, one of my favorites, a Jesmyriad. I can't remember the species. Somebody told me the other day, but I already forgot it. And then right here, Begonia polygonoides. This is a super cool little trailing begonia. Also just a little cutting that's just starting to take off, but it does have some new growth, so excited to see where it goes. Right here is our Philodendron ring of fire. This just flowers like crazy. I know you guys love these things, but this is probably my least favorite plant in the greenhouse. It just doesn't look natural in here. I'm not way into the variegation, and I'm probably gonna get rid of it, to be honest with you. But anyways, off to one of my favorite plants, Tiffany's very favorite plant. This is Amorphophallus operculatus. You can see the green leaves with the hot pink edges. This is one of the corpse flowers. When we got it, the leaf kind of died off, and we thought that the plant died. It didn't do good, but it actually just went dormant and just put out these 2 new leaves. So you think this is a whole plant with a bunch of little leaves? You're wrong. This is all one leaf. So this whole stalk is a petiole. This is one leaf. And what these do is they grow a leaf for the season. The leaf comes out, it stays all season. They have a big bulb underground. The bulb grows, and once it gets enough, or once it gets big enough, basically, one day they go dormant, the leaf dies off, and then all of a sudden the next thing that comes out is a flower spike. So it'll keep doing that and keep putting out leaves until one day a flower spike comes out. And then it's a super cool flower that heats up and smells like corpses to replicate decaying flesh for carrion flies to come pollinate it. So super unique plant. I'm excited for it to flower. Not necessarily excited to smell it, but definitely excited to give it a look. All right, right here below all my sweat droplets is a Dieffenbachia. We just put this thing in here recently and it is going wild. One of the cool things about these Dieffenbachias is they're kind of like the bromeliads. It's going to be hard to see, but we'll get a second shot of it. But basically the axils of the leaves where they meet the plant hold water pools, and it is a place where Ranitomea dart frogs naturally breed or lay their tadpoles and eggs in the wild. And I do plan on getting some Ranitomea. So there's a sneak peek at one of the other animals. We're going to add one more species of dart frog. Right in front of the Dieffenbachia is another Antherium. This is, I don't do very many hybrids, but this is a Gigi luxurians hybrid. So this thing's pretty cool. Not my favorite in the world, but I do love it. Actually, now that I'm looking at this newest leaf, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Right next to it is one of my favorite plants. This is Conchocarpus macrophyllus. I'm really getting into the small trees and stuff. I'm kind of getting out of a lot of the aroids and into different stuff. And this is going to be a really cool single stem tree that'll eventually grow 8 feet tall or so, and it has really pretty flowers, and it flowers like year round. So I'm super excited for this thing to get mature. Right next to it is a philodendron golden dragon that was donated to me. This thing's pretty cool, awesome little leaf shape. Under that is a philodendron gloriosum. This thing's going to be cool once it gets a lot bigger. It's like just starting to do good and take off. It was a little half dead cutting when I got it. And then right behind it, it's not looking great right now, but that's a Nicotiana cordifolia, one of the tobacco plants. And then we have our false tree over here. Right here is philodendron melanochrysum, perfectly trailing up the tree exactly how we wanted it to. We got another little biophytum down here, and then another orchid that I don't know the name of. And it looks like a little Markgravia cutting down here. But I don't even remember which Markgravia that is, to be honest with you. But right here we have a cool bromeliad. I don't know if I'm in love with its placement on the tree, but this is a Acmea Abbey Road. Super cool little thing. Another little orchid back here. Another little orchid over here. Another little orchid right here. They're all looking kind of sad, guys. I'm telling you, I got to get that RO water system and the fogging system in place. Up here is Philodendron insigne. This thing is super pretty, the red purple backs of the leaves. I love it. And then another Aristolochia fimbriata. Another cool bromeliad. I know the name of this one, but I just can't remember it right now. So, you know, it is what it is. Right here is another Nepenthes hybrid. And then some other sweet bromeliads. This Nepenthes hybrid, it's just starting to put out new pictures, so just starting to do good. So that thing will be cool pretty soon. There's some more bromeliads. Right here is actually one of my favorite Tillandsias. This is Tillandsia funkiana. You can see it's just very unique and cool, and eventually it'll grow into a big hanging bush looking thing like this, and it'll grow bright red flowers all over it, which I'm really excited for. Then right here is another one of the mini orchids. And I almost remember the name of this one. I think it's like Japonica Minmaru or something. I don't know. I probably completely butchered that. And inside this log right here, this is the hiding place of our female Spilotes. So she pretty much always is sitting up in there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see her at all. I think she's about to shed, so she's not being active today. She's just up in there doing a heavy snooze. But, you know, I feel you, girl. And then, yeah, we got a little bromeliad up there, but nothing crazy. Right here is our Antherium Wenlingeri. This is one of my favorite Antheriums. Eventually it'll grow big, 6-ish foot long leaves. They're super cool. And the inflows on this, or the flowers basically, are big spirally ones. So they're awesome. This thing is gonna get mounted on one of the big branches, because if you guys forgot, I'm gonna do big, huge canopy of big cork tube branches going all the way across the greenhouse with all kinds of cool plants on them. So I kind of just got this one temporarily mounted so I can mount it on a branch. We're gonna do some of the smaller branches coming up soon for habitat for the snakes, because they really do not like to touch the ground. We're gonna put a lot of cool plants on them, so stay tuned. Yeah! So down here we have another Impatiens aracoma, but like I said, that's like the other one getting established. And then back here is our Ploumanii. All the newer mature leaves are on the other side, but you can see it's kind of, these old leaves are looking ugly. I think they got some fungal thing going on or something, but I'm not super worried about it. Right here you can see our giant tree fern, Sphaeropteris cooperi, or one of the Australian tree ferns, is getting huge. This thing is going absolutely wild. So it is literally taking up like a third of the greenhouse, but I absolutely love it. I would like get inside there and show you guys a cool shot, but it's got all those little hairs all over that get all over and make me super itchy, and I don't want to deal with that right now. Down here by our little rock pile is Cercistus mirabilis. This thing was not doing good for a long time, and now it's finally starting to take off. So that's a super cool plant. Right here we have Syngonium erythrophyllum. This thing is a giant vine. It's growing all the way up the fern. I didn't even know it was doing that until I just looked, so super cool. And then right here, this thing's not doing too good. It gets too much light, so once it gets shaded out, it'll do a lot better. But this is Elaphoglossum metallicum, one of the oil slick ferns. Yeah, not looking great right now, to be honest with you. Right here is a bigger one of our Markgravia centenniceae. So those are probably my favorite Markgravia. Super cool plant. And then we'll get to this in a minute, but underneath here is Begonia ruthiae. This is one of our new begonias. And this thing's gonna be awesome. It already is awesome. But anyways, right here is our Philodendron squamiferum. This thing is super cool. It's got these bright red, furry looking little petioles. They feel like Velcro, and these super cool shaped leaves. I absolutely love this plant. It's a pretty common plant, but it looks great in here. Underneath here is more Solanum julianum. And then we got this, I don't know how to get it. Oh, right here. Little secret Antherium cuticuense. This is a sensitive, hard to get established Antherium. It's put out this one leaf in like 8 months probably. So, oh look, another Markgravia Azrael. I completely forgot that was even there. So, this guy right here is Risha Uncle Bob, one of my very favorite bromeliads. And you can probably see under here somewhere, it has a little pup coming up. So, I love that beautiful hot pink color. It is so cool and unique in plants. Down here is the biggest biophytum I've ever seen. This is Biophytum sucupii, and it's constantly flowering, which is awesome. I love these dark leaves with the red bottoms. Neato. We work our way up here. One of my favorite plants, one of the showiest plants in the greenhouse, is this Philodendron patriciae. This thing just keeps getting bigger and prettier leaves, and it is just like an awesome backdrop for pictures and stuff. And then, guess what, guys? Surprise! We have a bunch of mini orchids that I don't know the names of. This one's probably gonna die. It fell off the other tree and was upside down for like a month, and I didn't even notice it. You know, what do you do? I'm a bad orchid dad, guys, I'm sorry. Back here we have Philodendron, wow, that thing's completely rooted on. We got Philodendron pulchrum. That thing's pretty cool. Up here we got, God, I forgot what this is. I think Neuragilia haiku. This is one of my other favorite bromeliads. I say that about like every bromeliad, don't I? But what do you do? And then right here we have our Philodendron spiritus sancti. I think that thing was drying out too much and not being fertilized enough because it is looking a bit rough, but it has a somewhat healthy new leaf coming out. So that is one thing with fertilizing the plants. I'm trying not to fertilize a ton because I have frogs and amphibians. And like I said before, I fertilize with low NPK solutions. And we've just been super, super busy lately. So I honestly haven't been fertilizing for the last month or so. And it's kind of starting to show on some of the epiphytic plants. So I need to be better about that and get to fertilizing again. Right here, we have another Platycerium. This is a Wenlickii hybrid. Down here, this is my favorite fern ever. This is Lechinopterus mirabilis, or what's left of it. The millipedes have been wrecking this thing. So the frond got eaten off of it and it might not make it, but it is my absolute favorite. You guys will see why, because if this one dies, I'm gonna get another much more mature one to mount in here. Either way, I'm not going without one. Back here is another pretty Neuragilia bromeliad. I'm not sure which one this is exactly, but you can see it's popping like crazy. And then up here is a Platycerium ridleyi. This is the same as the one in the pond. This one got wrecked by snakes a little bit, so it's looking a little bit rough. So you're probably looking at B-roll footage of the one inside the pond right now, because that one's way prettier. Okay, anyways, back here is the Antherium warrock, or Warrockianum. This thing is doing super good right there with its huge moss ball, and it's putting out new leaves like crazy, and it has a little inflow right there, which is neato. Okay, so right here we have one of my favorite ant plants. I'll put the species name on the screen, but I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. But these are super cool. So if you guys don't know, these are the leaves. This is the big rhizome, and this thing is covered in all these tiny little holes. And in the wild, they have a symbiotic relationship with species of ants. Basically, the ants, if you cut this open, there's like huge caverns all over in this rhizome. And the ants live in there, colonize it. Their poop fertilizes the plant. They protect the plant from predators. Meanwhile, they get a free place to live. And the misters every time, but I suspect that the plant releases some sort of like sugary exudates or something, like most plants do in their roots. And it probably also helps feed the ants. And super cool news. So why I'm holding this right now is it got ripped off the tree by a big snake. A big snake with no remorse. All right, it's raining in here on me. Sorry guys, it's hard to film. But yeah, I got ripped off the tree. So I was messing with it the other day, looking at it. And I always thought it would be really cool to get the ants that live in these in the wild and get them to live in it. But that would be illegal and not a very good idea because I don't want to add invasive ants to my state. But while I was sitting there looking at it and messing with it, we noticed a bunch of ants coming out of it. So there's a bunch of these tiny little ants. I can't remember the name. Somebody ID'd them for me on Instagram when I posted pictures. So I will put the name on the screen. I can't remember it right now. But yeah, super cool. They're ants that are native here in Utah, and they actually took up home in my ant plant. So as far as I know, I'm like, well, I'm sure there's a bunch of other people that have done it, but I'm one of the only people I know of that has an ant plant with an actual colony of ants living in it. So today we got to get this remounted on the tree though, so they can keep going about their life. But that had me like super excited. I'm all about symbiotic relationships and stuff like that, guys. I'm a dork with that stuff, but super cool. Let's move on. Right over here is Philodendron Betsii. This thing is starting to get very big, mature leaves, and it's very much attaching to the wall right there. And then right here, guys, this is my favorite plant in the greenhouse. I know I say that about everything, but this really is my #1 favorite. This is Pentagonia Wendlandii. Look how red the backs of those leaves are. So this is another one that kind of grows into a single stem tree. So eventually it'll have a single little stalk. It'll grow up 8, 9, 10 feet tall, something like that, and then have these big, huge leaves coming off it. But this is, I don't know, this really is the coolest plant ever, and it's doing super good next to the stream here. I'm super excited about it, and I am freaking melting. It is so hot right here. All right, guys, well, that is gonna be it for this video. So if we missed any plants, I might have missed some of the little ones. I don't know, it's a lot to keep track of. But if we did, let me know in the comments and I will tell you what it is. And then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like this video so we can get out to a broader audience. The next video we have coming out is a full animal tour. We're gonna go over every living species of animal in the greenhouse and tell you guys all about those. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that video. Me and Tiffany are gonna chill out. I'm gonna put my feet in this stream and cool down a little bit. And thank you for watching.